What's up, my Central Unit? It's the Central Man here. So back again with another WCW pay-per-view review. This time I'm going to review the very first Fall Brawl. That's Fall Brawl 1993. This show was at the Astro Arena. I think it's called the NRC Arena in Houston, Texas, on the 19th of September 1993. The attendance for the show was 6,000, and the buy rate for the very first Fall Brawl was 95,000 pay-per-view buys. Yeah, this is the very first Fall Brawl in WCW history, and this basically will continue this pay-per-view up to the company's demise. The last one was Fall Brawl 2000. You know, they'll do this pay-per-view until the rest of the company's existence. Tony Schiavone and Jesse the Body Ventura on commentary. This is a critical time in WCW because a few weeks ago, before the show, WCW broke away from the NWA. I'll explain more later. So the first match to kick off Fall Brawl 1993, we got Ricky the Dragon Steamboat defending the WCW TV title against Lord Steven Regal. This was a good match, a really good, solid opener. I think Steamboat had a lot of tip around his ribs. I think he's like throughout the whole bowl, you had really Regal working on the ribs of Steamboat. You know, and yeah, Steamboat selling the ribs. In the end, you got Sir William. Basically, it's very funny. Like Sir William is basically Regal's like henchman in WCW, and then years later in the WWF, they kind of changed, the Regal name Stephen until William. He remain, to this day he's known as he'll be William Regal. Back then, he's known as Steven Regal in WCW, William Regal in the WWF/WWE. Anyway, so I'm guessing this is his. I might be wrong. I don't think it's his first pay-per-view appearance. I think it is. I don't know, but anyway, yeah. Sir William hit Ricky the Dragon Steamboat with an umbrella. Regal hit Steamboat with the suplex to score the victory and won the TV title. I think this is his first title in America because he's a British. I think I don't think it was because he started his career in the 80s. He's won like national championship in England. I think he won a European title in the Indies. Yeah, this is his first major title in America, and he'll later become, I don't think he won a tag team title in WCW. He was in the tag team with Bobby Eaton, or you known as was it Earl Robert Eaton. I don't know. I don't want to get into it, but anyway, so it's a good match. Before I get to the second match of Fall Brawl 93, I need a drink before I get to the next match. Anyway, I'm back. So yeah, match number two, we got Big Sky versus Charlie Norris. The announcers, Shivani and Fanjira, brought up that this is Charlie Norris's first WCW pay-per-view appearance. And then for Big Sky, he previously was in WCW. He was teaming up with Vinny Vegas. That's Kevin Nash, and then Nash left the company to go to WWF, and he'd be known as Diesel at the time before he made his return to the company in 1996. Anyway, so Sky was not really doing anything. He wasn't a tag team with Vinny Vegas, but he was kind of like I think it was a jobber. This is before my time. I don't want to get into it too much. I done my research for this show. Anyway, this match, nothing more to talk about. It was just basically big man versus big man matches. Most of the time in pro wrestling, you see a big man versus big man matches. They're never that good. It's basically just picking shit up, putting it back, picking shit up, put it back down. Basically like one more of the match. Basically had Charles Norris basically locked Big Sky with a. He's basically locked him in rest holds like an armbar. Not really. I don't really call it an armbar. So anyway, and I think he had Big Sky choke slam Norris. It's basically doing these big moves. In the end, Norris hit the basically a bicycle kick. It's basically like a worse looking bro kick. I hate to quote Sheamus's. Actually, Sheamus, like people crap on the bro kick. Oh, the bro kick's one of the best moves, man. Anyway, so yeah, Charles Norris beat Big Sky for the victory. Yeah, this was not a good match. Match number three, we got Scorpio Sky and Marcus Alexander Bagwell, the future Buff Bagwell, taking on Porn Orndorff and the Equalizer. The Equalizer is Dave Sullivan. This was not a good match. I was bored. For one, like the last Dave Sullivan match I reviewed was his match with DDP at Bash of the Beach '95. But in this match, I don't think it was that good. I don't know, it was okay, but yeah, the Equalizer was shit. As for Orndorff, at the time he was 40, well, soon to be 45 years old. He was kind of like in his 40s back then. He was kind of like past his prime. And you got Sullivan, who's not really, basically a shit worker. Yeah, he had a decent match with DDP at Bash of the Beach, but that's not saying too much because DDP is one of the best athletic big men in pro wrestling. And anyway, yeah, this was not good, not a good match. Like Scorpio, you later on, it's very funny. Like Scorpio's in WCW, he's more. He had a, I think, did he have a? I think he had a run in WWF as Flash Funk. I think. I'm not. I don't think so. I don't want to get into it. Yeah, he had a run in ECW, and so he wrestling. I think he wrestled all three companies: WWF, WCW, and ECW. Anyway, so yeah, Scorpio and Bagwell, basically they are the workhorses. Carry both Sullivan and Orndorff to a good match. In the end, Scorpio hit the 450 splash. So it was on Orndorff to score the victory. Let's move on to the next match. That's match number 4. Yeah, that match is it. Yeah, match number 4. Yeah, match number 4. We got Ice Train versus what's his name? Fucking hell, man. I should have written this shit down. It's basically that's Henry Godwin in a fucking mask. 1 second, I'll be right back. Sorry, folks. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Shanghai Piers. You know, I know it's Henry O'Godwin in a mask. So yeah, it was Shanghai Piers. Yeah. So basically, you had Ice Train versus Shanghai Piers. You know, this is more like if you blink, you miss it type of match. In the end, Ice Train basically like you had basically his partner. I can't remember his name. Basically, grabbed like a rope, and then I think Ice Train in the last minute grabbed the rope, hit Shanghai Piers with a power slam to win this match, and chase off the heel. So yeah, like I said, it's just like a blink. It's type of like if you blink, you probably miss it. There was nothing like talk about this match. It's basically a quick match, but it was okay. It was eh. Okay, moving on to the WCW Tag Team Title match. We got Arn Anderson and Paul Roma. They were known as Horsemen. I think they were at the time. They were basically a tag team because the Horsemen was officially no more at this point. I think they broke away after the start of the 90s. You know, they were a tag team. I think they will later on be a trio, but yeah, they kind of reformed in '95 as as a group. But back then, you know, in '93, they were as a tag team, Arn Anderson and Paul Roma. Anyway, so yeah, they're defending the belts against the Nasty Boys, Dyers, Brian Knobbs, and Jerry Sags, with Misty Hyatt as their valet. I think this was a decent match. I was looking back; it's between 2 stars or 3 stars. I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. I think some parts of the match kind of dragged. We're doing rest holds. I hate that. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing because you kind of drag down the match. It kind of brings the quality of the match down sometimes, in my opinion. In the end, I think Arn Anderson hit Brian Knobbs with the double A spine buster. In the end, I think Sags pinned Roma to score the victory, and the Nasty Boys won the tag team titles. By the way, it was predictable because I'll explain more a little bit later. So anyway, so it's a good win for the Nasty Boys. I feel like with the Horsemen, they won the belts from the Hollywood Blondes, that is Stunning Steve and Flying Brian. That was on because at the time, WCW were doing their shows in Disneyland. I explain more, like I said, a little bit later. Okay, and then we got Cactus Jack. That is Mick Foley taking on. Fucking hell! Sometimes I need to write this shit down. I end up forgetting. I think he's called. 1 second. I'm trying to find it. 1 second. Sorry about that. Yeah, I found. I don't mind. I found my list. Oh yeah, it's Yoshi Kwan. So you got Cactus Jack versus Yoshi Kwan. But throughout the whole '93, Cactus Jack basically was feuding with Harley Race. So basically, Vader, injured Cactus Jack on an episode of Saturday Night Main Event. Basically, powerbombed him onto the concrete floor, and basically, Harley Race took this. He was this bag. I'm not going to get into this bag. This is before my time. So he came back later in the summer of that year with fake amnesia. That's basically because you end up losing your memory. You forget to remember. Anyway, so Yoshi Kwan. I done my research. He's basically they build this guy up he's from Hong Kong, but in reality he's an English professional wrestler. He's come from Worcester. is it Woodstock? Yeah, Woodstock. You know, like I don't, yeah. And unfortunately, he passed away 25 years later. Rest in peace. But anyway, so this match was a standard match, and also this is for the balance. This is for the bag. You know, a little bag like Cactus Jack used to have. Anyway, I don't want to get into it, but yeah, it was just a standard match. Cactus Jack, basically, Yoshi had some offense. Cactus Jack got the victory. Hit Yoshi with the double, really the double on DDT to score the victory. And then he attacked, he attacked Holly Rays, took the bag, and it set up the match with Vader, and I think Vader, I think it set up the Texas Death Match at Halloween Havoc of that year. Okay, moving on to the international title match. We got Ric Flair versus Ravishing Rick Rude. So anyway, so here's the story. Like I said, this is the first WCW pay-per-view since WCW break away from the NWA. So anyway, so Ric Flair made his return. Made his return in I think it was in February of that year. After he left the company in 1991, had a bust up with Jim Herd. That's another story for another time. Had a run in the WWF. He came back in February that year. And then at the previous month's pay-per-view, that was Beach Splash '93. He defeated Barry Windham for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. And by the way, at the time, like I said a couple of minutes ago, WCW were doing their shows at the Disney, I think it's called the MGM Studios in Orlando, Florida. Most of the matches are taped. It was so predictable that I think that mostly, so this show was very predictable that most of the matches that person is going to win. So basically, like, because these Disney tapings are basically, they are taped. Like, I think, like, WCW kind of break away from the NWA. At this point, the NWA is basically on its last legs. I watched We Are Pro Wrestling's video on the WCW MGM tapings, the Disney tapings. It said about like the alliance was on its last legs. I think it's totally agree because the only two promotions out there, I'm not talking about the revival version of the NWA right now. I'm talking about back then. The two remaining promotions out there back in the 90s are basically that is Eastern Championship Wrestling, the future ECW. And also you got Smoky Mountain Wrestling. So they kind of like not to. They end up getting sued, because they kind of brought back the world back. The world title took away. Ric Flair really took the world title with him in 1991 to go to the WWF, and then they made it as a storyline of the real world champion. And the world title was back at the time. They brought back the world title instead of like call it the NWA World Heavyweight title. Of course, I think it was called legal reasons. I don't want to get into it. It's so confusing. They kind of changed the name of the big gold belt to the WCW International World Title. So, like I said, the world, because they broke away from the NWA, and then, anyway, they got the right to the big gold belt, because anyway, the NWA was officially no more. It was gone since the 80s. Sorry, I'm drinking a glass of milk. Anyway, let's fast forward to the rivalry between Ric Flair and Rick Rude. I think it was on the original plan. It was supposed to be Flair versus Rude for the NWA World Heavyweight title. Like I said, they broke away from the NWA, so they kind of used the trademark, recognized Flair as the NWA World Champion. So basically, Flair's the international champion. I think at this time they were doing. I think this is the start of WCW doing the two world titles. This is what WWE will do years later, and also right now, with the two brand splits, they do the two world titles. WCW was doing it. You got the WCW World Heavyweight Championship and the WCW International Championship. Anyway, so into this rivalry between Flair and Rude. So on this episode of Saturday Night Main Event, you had this segment called Flair with the Gold. You had Ric Flair and he came back as a babyface. You got Ric Flair, really Flair's valet, Fifi. She's kind of like the housemaid. You got Rude, kind of like confronting Flair, making out with his valet, Fifi. Fifi smacked Rude in the face, and then basically Rude attacked Ric Flair with the international title belt and hit him with the Rude Awakening. So basically, like he figured out one episode of really on those one of these tapings. Flair cost Rude the United States title in his match with Dustin Rhodes. So anyway, this match between Flair and Rude for the international title, I think this was a good match. Wasn't the best. This is similar to the Nasty Boys match. It kind of dragged. Yeah, there could be better matches, but if like doing rest holds, it kind of brought down the matches, the quality of the match down, in my opinion. So, like, there's some bulks of the match, basically like Flair working on the arm of Rude. Like one more of like some portion of the match, Rude kind of like doing, he kind of confronting, kind of flirting with Fifi, like doing his taunt. And also, like in the end, like the ending of the match, Rude kind of kiss Fifi, Fifi slap Rude, Flair in the end lock Rude with the figure four leg lock. Rude got the last life, grabbed like knuckle dusters and smack Ric Flair in the face to win this match and become the new WCW International Championship. Like I said, this was a good match. It could be a better match if it kind of dragged. Like it's not this match, and also the tag team title match between Arn Anderson and Paul Roma versus the Nasty Boys. It kind of dragged in my opinion. Because they were doing a lot of rest holds. I hate that. Sometimes it makes it slow and boring. But they were good. The tag team title match and the international title match. So. And also, here's the aftermath. They give Rick Rude an opportunity. They did what the World Wrestling Federation failed to do. Like they pushed, WWF pushed Rick Rude to the top, almost top, because they gave him the IC title push. They give him, I think he won the IC title once in his career in the World Wrestling Federation. And I think the only title picture he was in was really his really number one high profile feud in the Federation was his feud with the Ultimate Warrior in 1989 and 1990. He was in the because he fought Warrior for the World Heavyweight title, the WWF title at SummerSlam of 1990. That was close to getting a shot. Really, I think it was the only time he was in the main event. And then, he left. I think he left the company in 91 he left, or 99. I don't want to get into it. That's another topic for another time. So they did what WWF failed to do. I think Flair, Rude is one of the most underrated workers in pro wrestling history. He's got, he's the ladies' man. Like before the start of his match with Flair on the show, he called a promo towards Ric Flair said about he's gonna take his title, his reputation, and take his woman. And he took it. He removed his robe, and he's wearing his tights with Fifi's name on the front of the tights. Some people say, Rick Rude's character is gay. I don't think it's. Some people find it's gay, but I think Rude is. I don't think his gimmick is basically he's the ladies' man, but he's really good. For me personally, he's good on the mic. He's got personality. He's got charisma. And, basically the Federation dropped the ball on him. With WCW, they didn't drop the ball on him. They gave him the world title. Because at the time, they were doing the whole 2 world title thing. With the WCW, the big gold belt, it's called christened the International Championship and the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. They kind of merged the 2 belts 1 year later. So So that, yeah, they give him a chance. They see what he can do. Unfortunately, he held the belt until he lost the belt to Sting at the very first Spring Stampede pay-per-view in the spring of 1994. Yeah, he won the belt back in a pay-per-view in Japan. And then I've checked it up on Wikipedia. It started claiming that Rude's title win was reversed because he used the belt as a weapon. That was really the same match that he ended his career because Sting did like a dive and he kind of hit his back on one of the platforms in the match in Japan. People, I always say Sting's fault because what Sting did was a perfectly timed dive. It wasn't botched. It was a perfectly timed dive. I think he kind of like landed awkwardly on his back and then suffered a career back injury. So it's a damn shame. And throughout the rest of the 90s, he was more of a wrestling personality. He's running ECW and then he's returning in the WWF and also he's returned to WCW in the late 90s before his timely death in 1999. It's a damn shame. If he never had that back injury, it's more like what might have been for Rick Rude. He could be in the main event for the next couple of years. He probably win more world titles. Probably win about 4 or 5 until he probably retired in 2000. Who knows? But yeah, like I said, they just give them what might have been for Rick Rude, and at least he was world champion. Anyway, so moving on to the main event. Drinking my glass of milk. We got the War Games match. We got Sting, British Bulldog, Road Warrior Hawk, I think. I think it was Road Warrior Animal, and Dustin Rhodes, and I think it was the Shotmaster. He made his debut at the Class. I think it was weeks before the show. I think. He came off wearing this Stormtrooper helmet, and he's formerly known as Tugboat in the Federation. And you're not gonna see Shotmaster before or even after this pay-per-view. They're taking on Vader, Sid Vicious with Colonel Robert Parker, Vader with Holly Race in his side, and also the 2 members of Hall and Heat. And this is Hall and Heat's first pay-per-view appearance. There were no, Hall and Heat is Booker T and Stevie Ray. They were known. They kind of changed the name. The original version, the original names are known as, I think it's called Cola and Nash, and then I think they later on become Booker T and Stevie Ray. So anyway, so yeah, this is they've been doing War Games since 1987 at Great American Bash of '87, and I think they're doing it at previous Great American Bash shows, and then I think they did some house shows during that time. I think it was at the Wrestle War event. The last time they did was at Wrestle War of 1992, the following year. Anyway, so in this match at Fall Brawl 93, the very first one, it was a standard match. So I watched, before the start of doing this review on the show, I watched other people's reviews of the same show. Some people say it's crap. I don't think it was crap in my opinion. I feel like, the 1998 Fall Brawl War Games match that was shit. But this was okay. Was nothing special. It wasn't good. It wasn't like a typical classic War Games match, but it wasn't like terrible or cringeworthy. It was just a standard match. It was okay for what it is. In the end, Shotmaster basically, I call him Booker T, basically tapped out Booker T with he didn't really tap out, he kind of locked Booker T in a bear hug. One of the worst submission holds in pro wrestling history to win this match for his team. And then afterwards, the heels got pissed off. You basically Booker T showed like I didn't got tap out. Sid was showing his head off. They left the show. I think they were throwing the fans were throwing fucking basically like garbage in the fucking ring. They're not pissed off. It basically is typical booing the heels, and then that was it. Oh, by the way, in the match between Anderson and Roma versus the Nasty Boys. The fans would really call the Nasty Boys Fat Boys and Porky Pig. It's typical, heel, fans booing the heels, calling names. It's pro wrestling. It's entertainment purposes. Anyway, so my final rating of the very first Fall Brawl, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. It wasn't a bad show. It wasn't like terrible, but it wasn't great. It was a bit of this was a mediocre show. I feel like on the good you got you got Steamboat versus Regal for the TV title. Anderson and Roma versus the Nasty Boys for the tag team titles, and Flair versus Rude for the international title was good, pretty good. In the middle, I put Cactus Jack and Yoshi Kwan. Sorry about the name. Sorry about the remember the names. I just check up the names on Wikipedia. Because all of a sudden oh shit, I forgot the names of the wrestlers. So yeah, what were Kaz Jack and Yoshi Kwan. That was okay. It was just not a bad match. Wasn't good. It was okay. Kaz Jack got his revenge. Got basically his little bit of his redemption. And the War Games match was okay for what it is. The bad matches on the show, they were not terrible, cringeworthy matches, but they were bad. They were mediocre. To be honest, you had you had Ice Train versus Shanghai Pierce. It's more like Blink, you miss it. Bagwell and Too Cool Scorpio versus Orndor and the Equalizer. That was basically Dave Sullivan. It was the Equalizer was shit. Orndor was past his peak. And then you got shit. Man, Big Sky. Yeah, Big Sky and Charlie Norris. It was just eh. So anyway, 4 out of 10 for the very first Fall Brawl. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed my review of WCW Fall Brawl 1993. Hope you like it. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Smash the like button and subscribe to the Central Mind Network on YouTube. Sorry. Next time, the last 2 weeks I'm start doing these, WCW Monday Nitro reviews. So let's travel 2 years into the future. The very first pay-per-view of the Monday Night Wars. I'm talking about Fall Brawl 1995. So hope that pay-per-view is way better than this pay-per-view I just talked about. So this is Central Man officially signing out. Check you later.